Right. Welcome back, everybody, to another Purpose Served podcast episode. I'm your host, Darryl Wingfield. And today I have an amazing guest on here. Now, just to give you guys a little backstory, a couple of weeks ago, me and my friends went to, I believe, Hook Hall to Pancakes and Booze to just go see different people and the different arts that they made. And for me, my friends are into art. I'm just into people who just create uh, things and just anything in general. You know, for me, that inspires me to look at what brings people meaning to their life and create meaningful work. And just being at Hook Hall and being in that environment are all different types of people. Shahida Osman was one of those people that I ran into, and I looked at one of her works. As you guys can see, one of the line drawings that she has back there, it was one of them with two people looking at each other, and they didn't have their eyes. And at the top, you could kind of see like a structure of a brain. And I went there and I looked at that, and that one was the one in particular. I was like, wow, I need to know like what this means. Like, this looks crazy, you know. And that's when I asked you and you told me about it, and I was just like, oh man. And then I got to hear your background and how you came about, you know, discovering your artwork. And I'm like, oh man, she would be an awesome person to have on my podcast. And here we are right now. So one of the very first things that I wanted to ask you is what inspired you to start making your artwork?
Well, I think art has always been my main expression for what I think and how I feel about things. And it's like an urge that needs to be released. So, yeah, it could be news I heard or the stories people share. And yeah,
So
I,
pretty much this is I got a similar answer from different artists that I talked to. Are you inspired by, you know, just pretty much anything that you can see with like your naked eye, like going outside, seeing the
Mhm.
environment, being in a store, whatever you see on TV? When are those flashes of inspiration hit?
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, so when you asked me that question, I was trying to recall when was the first time, and I would say my first memory of like having this urge to draw was when I was very young and living in a village, and it was after I was attacked by a bunch of geese. So I think that was my I think drawing was an action that I'm trying to cage that anger and that shock and sadness, because I thought they were friendly because they passed by my house every morning, and so I was like, I'm gonna approach you and whoa, you attack me. So I think like trying not being able to, maybe like writing is not my expression, like drawing it helps me.
So
Yeah.
where did you grow up?
I grew up in Singapore. It's a small island city. But it is like any big city like New York or Hong Kong. It's very compact. Um, yeah, I grew up there, but early on, it's very rural. It's very we use the word kampong because it's like a small village when it's not built up yet. But of course now things have changed. Like
Oh
I don't know whether
wow.
you of Singapore. Yeah,
So it's
it's a
completely different now than how it was when you grew up there. So
yeah.
when was the last time you've been to Singapore?
The last time was April 2019. So we were en route to moving back to States. I went back to visit my family and my eldest son. And I'm so glad I did it because now I can't go back. I mean, I can, but I'll be quarantined for 2 weeks in a hotel, which to me doesn't make sense. Yeah, at the moment.
What would you say is the difference between being here and Singapore? When you came over here, did you experience like a culture shock when you came here? Like it was hard to get used to?
Well, I don't think the culture shock was very vast because American culture, we get it in Singapore through Hollywood. We watch American
Yeah.
movies, but when it goes deeper down on into like what right now what you're going through with like BLM and how the political system, that's completely different, right? So that's definitely a learning curve for me. It's different. Yeah, but like in terms of cultural, like whatever Hollywood has to offer, we're kind of
You're
aware of,
updated.
but we're not like totally culture shock in regards to that. But Singapore is, we do 76% of Singaporeans are Chinese, and then we have the minorities, which are the Malays, 15%, and then 7% are Indians. So
Oh, wow.
they are made up of those three ethnic races. So and then, but we don't have this how do you say it, racial tension, because I think we started very young in school. We are taught moral and civic lessons, and it's just we celebrate all the holy days of the different religion and whatever race, whatever celebration they have. So
it's no real, you guys aren't real like taught separation, looking at like each other like we're different in some sort of way. You guys are all like being taught that.
Yeah, we are taught like we could be like I'm Malay, like we're taught, yes, that's what we are, and I speak my mother tongue, which is Bahasa, but at the end of the day we are Singaporeans, and the Chinese, the Malays, the Indians, we are. I'm not saying like racism doesn't occur. Racism is, there is racism, there is stereotypes, there is generalization, but it doesn't I think people get along, and we learn to respect, and the boundaries, and I think it's different. It's definitely different from what it is here.
This is like something that I truly believe is just that, especially through doing things like you're doing, that it breaks that barrier of us oftentimes thinking that we're different from one another. When things like that, the artwork that you make and that other people make, it brings us together. And that's similar to the way that you guys was taught early on in school as well. And I believe that in the grand scheme of things, if we all took that and sort of way and meshed it all together, we'll be living in a totally different place and more welcoming of people, doing what they do best, and now we live in a society, it seems like, where that's not the case. It's more encouraged to do what you see instead of doing what feels right to you. And that's why, like, it's very, I would say your artwork isn't traditional, in a sense where it's very, very unique to you. And you can definitely tell through it. And I even bought one of your pieces. I think I have it hanging over like my computers in my room. But I was going to ask you as well, what inspired you to make the art style that you do?
Well, I don't know if I have an absolute art style. Like I'm self-taught. I don't go to art school. I mean, when I was in my first marriage, it was definitely a distinct one. I call it essentialism, because I was trying to pick up just the absolute lines out of the whole chaos. I think I was, and I'm doing my artwork in black and white, and I think I was maybe slightly depressed and trying to cope with the difficult domestic situation I'm in. But then I started, doing therapy and taking essential oils, and there was a period where I couldn't sleep. And when when I go to bed, I have like I wouldn't say it's nightmare, but it's just colors. And if I don't put it down on canvas, it made me to be, I don't feel I can go back to sleep. So I end up painting until very late, and it felt very good. And then after that, I found I fell in love with another man, and it's just explosion of colors. Yeah, so I don't have, I love drawing faces. I think I don't know, I think everyone has such a, I don't know, faces are amazing to me. I like drawing realistic portraiture. I like to, and you know, when I look at faces and then people talk and then, you know, it's just all the stories and I don't know, I think it's the emotions I'm trying to come out. Um, I'm trying to express that through my painting and drawing.
So it seems like your artwork is highly driven from strong emotions that you have, and you channel it and you put it on a canvas. So was
Mhm.
like painting faces and everything and drawing those essential lines was the first thing that you started off doing when dealing with like
Yeah.
the turmoil of going through the divorce and everything.
Yeah, so I think like there's one that you mentioned early on during this interview where they have two faces looking at each other, and it had as had they had clouds, right? Because
Yeah.
and the fact that people can be face to face with each other but not see eye to eye, they can be talking about same thing but actually have different intention or meaning to it, you know, and but they're talking, you know, like it's verbalizing, but it's not. Um, just not seeing eye to eye, and yeah, that's what. Yeah.
It's something
Yeah.
that I always say, and at this point, I'm like such a broken record, not only on this podcast at this point, but to my friends as well. And I say that there's a difference between listening and hearing someone. And when you're listening to someone, to me, it's like you're trying to understand where they're coming from. And for on the other side of things, when you got people that's just here, is pretty
Mm-hmm.
much I interpret that of what you just said, and that's why when I seen that work that you did, and then just asking you different questions about it, that really started like hitting me, and then after that I'm like, wow, it felt like I had a emotional connection to that because what I just said is what I started thinking about, and it seems like more often than not people much rather listen to themselves than
Yes.
listen to where the other person's coming from, and that naturally causes a divide and a brick wall, and it seemed like now more than ever that's happening quite frequently. And even with this podcast, with this brand purpose served, I'm trying to break that barrier to get people to understand that no matter what it is that you're doing, that you can help yourself and help other people through the gift that you have. And that's exactly what you're doing. So when you was going through the process of channeling all those emotions with your artwork, how did you get to the process of starting to put your artwork out there?
Usually I think it's with faces it's lines around people's eyes and their mouth because they're talking, and then it's of course colors, and yeah, and then I don't know, there's no like a true map, and it's just, yeah,
So
it's
pretty
quite a.
so it depends on how you feeling on the type of artwork that you do. Which art style do you typically go to most frequently?
So right now, I wouldn't say I have ceased doing my black and white, but I'm now I'm very into colors. I'm just there's so many colors. So yeah,
What
and I
what
love
are
maps.
what are your favorite colors to work with?
Oh, so my favorite color is, so I like pastel. I go through phases where I love pastel. And it's funny, I read somewhere that pastel is actually heart opener. So it opens up the heart. And like if I mean some therapies who do do color therapy healing, um they said um pastel colors are when people like caged up and they're very repressed and they're not opening up, like pastel color, they are more drawn to pastel colors. And yeah, I mean, I do have strong pieces where I go through like primary colors with green and red. Um, yeah, so yeah, I think it depends on how I'm feeling in regards to colors, but I like all sorts of colors. I don't know if there's any colors that I hate. It's just like music. I think I like all kinds of music. I don't
It
have a
just
specific
depends
genre.
on how you're feeling at the time to bring out
Yeah.
what type of music that you want to listen to.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not I don't have any specific. I mean, it's just what phase I'm going through and what I'm feeling and thinking at the moment. Yeah.
All right. So the next question that I did want to ask you, because I remember you speaking on how being a mom changed like your artwork, and I was going to ask you on the podcast on this as well, and also how you're able to juggle, motherhood and also being an artist as well.
So I did mention that to you, like it was difficult, and then I read your question again, and I look at my artwork. I realized like my artwork don't change because I'm a mom, because I am still who I am, but I think the number of artworks I can do definitely change because there's only time is difficult. Is juggling to find the time to have the headspace to do the artwork, because it's not like a office job. You come and then you start typing and doing a bunch of spreadsheets and stuff like that. You want to get into a zone and then go into a flow, but then at the time I'm trying to meet the demands, the family and the kids, so it's a struggle, I guess. um if what is being weaved into the artwork would be, I say, it would be the struggle of you know I think it's not only just in not only artists who are facing that. I think it's just difficult as a you want to do good by your kids. I'm sure your mom would say the same thing, but at the same time you want to express your creative work um, in its full potential. And yeah, but it's just getting harder to do a complete work because I would love to have a long stretch of flow. um
So
yeah,
pretty much
and
you got to tap into it at that flow state a little bit
Mhm.
a little bit of times here and there when you have that open window to
Mhm.
focus on your artwork.
Yeah, so yeah, I think in regards to artwork, if it does an influence, it would be like the struggle and doing the juggle, and meeting the and finding, I think motherhood itself is a beast on its own. It's a beautiful thing, but it has its own, yeah, it's very devouring, I think, of, yeah, if your emotion, of your time, it's uncomparable, but at the same time it's trying to find a balance, I guess.
That was actually going to be one of the next questions that I was going to ask you regarding, how it is balancing that life, and how do you, make time to even try to get into that zone to begin with?
Yeah, so I have a very supportive husband, and I think my kids, two of them are teenagers, and they are able to better understand. I'm I'm trying to tell them like my is serious what I'm trying to do, and I need the time. Like it would help if the house is in some shape or form like neat and orderly. So
Yeah.
because I'm in my studio and I'm trying to do my work, but my like my mother head, or like my like responsibility as a mom, as a wife, like, oh my god, the kitchen, the food needs to be cooked, the laundry needs to be done, da da da. But so um them helping around the house, like them cooking dinner, that really
It
like
makes it easier for you.
easier. So and then I have more time. Because of that, I have more time. So yeah, so that's how I juggle.
How do you like get into that flow state, and also what would you describe that state like while you're doing your artwork?
Yeah, so the flow state is very difficult. It's almost like how do you say it? Sometimes it hits like, oh my god, that is such a good idea, and then of course then you run around busy. I think jotting it down and coming back to it makes it quicker. There are days where like you have like, oh my god, what am I doing now? And then I'm going back to my sketchbook, and then actually physically drawing and painting will create the flow. I mean, of course, I have all sorts of music and depending, and sometimes like sad song will do it, and sometimes sad song is like will makes you even more stagnant, so you got to put something more upbeat. Yeah, but I think like I think most artists, like you got to be you cannot wait for inspiration. You got to be doing it, and then things will flow its way out. And of course then there's editing. It's like, oh my god, what am I doing, this is crap, and then you gotta chuck it, and then and sometimes you keep only 10% of what you done, and sometimes the idea is so brilliant, you keep the whole thing.
It's such a like that flow state is such a, I don't know, it's a fleeting feeling,
It's,
but you know when it's
yeah.
there and you know when it's hit. And just like what you just said, it's one of those things where it's just like, I have to act on this right now. And also I noticed from being in that flow state, it makes you not question what you're doing. You just do what you're doing while you're doing it. And
Yeah.
I'm really big on trying to be able to tap in that as frequently as possible, because I know for you with your artwork, that's probably come from your best artwork is from being in that state, and like, mind, body, and soul, where you're just solely focused on getting whatever it is in your head and however it is you're feeling on that canvas. So I know as an artist, that's like a really, really important thing to, work on and work with. And how do you manage, say you're not in a flow state, how do you manage on keep on pushing through and making your art?
Usually, like if I'm not in a flow state and I don't change where I am, I get very frustrated and angst. And so for me, I need to change what I'm doing. Like I go out for a workout, and like sweat it out until I'm physically like tired, and then the brain would just like, okay, well, how am I really feeling now?
Yeah.
Or cooking, when I'm cooking, it's like almost autopilot. So and then your body is physically doing something, but your mind is wandering off. So I think when you let your mind wander, that's also a flow state. Like if you go out for a hike, I mean, there's nothing to it. I mean, you're walking and hiking and just, absorbing. That's when your mind is free to wander, and that's can create a flow state. Yeah, but flow state, like you say, is very precious. If you are like if I'm in midst of painting or drawing, and you kind of know, like, hey, this is a flow state because I'm like going, like, this is good. If I have
Yeah.
like if I'm doing it, and I know I also have a very tight schedule because I'm working full time somewhere else, and I know I have to pick up my kids or I have da da da. Like if I know, like for example, hey, I need to finish by 1 o'clock because I want to hit the grocery store, but I'm in a flow state, I would forego the grocery store because you can always do it, right?
I respect that 100%, and especially being an artist, there's no reason why you should be going to the grocery store when you're getting hit with that inspiration. You got to do something about it.
Yeah, it is very precious. So I would like, if like people think, oh yeah, another thing about being a mom, and I don't know whether if you're not have kids or whatever, guilty, like, hey, I could be doing something more utilitarian around the house, more purposeful, and then so the guilt will set in. I'm slowly learning not to feel guilty about, or feeling like, oh my god, this is self-indulgent, like doing my painting and drawing instead of ironing or cooking or whatever, right? But it is what it is. I mean, if I don't get it done, I will get upset and I'll be a worse person. And you want to be a good person. And when you're a good person to yourself, you'll be a good people to someone else, right?
That's why I truly believe the order that you just put it in is 100% perfect. I always say that in order to help other people, you must know how to help yourself first, and sometimes that means catering to some of the things that you need in order to maintain your wellness and to keep going. So for you, if that takes art to be in that place, then that's what it takes, because at the end of the day, in the long run, is ultimately making you a better person for the people around you, which means that they most likely is going to carry that same energy that you're giving off, rather than you saying that, you know what, I'm putting too much into this art. I'm about to just back off for a little bit. But at the same time, it's like that feeling like something's missing. I should be doing something right now, and this don't feel right, you know. But I truly believe that people should always lean in, you know, towards that thing and that they have and that feeling, because you know it creates wonderful things through that little sacrifice that you know you make. And this
Yeah.
is leading to the next question I was going to ask you. How has art been able to, like, you know, manage your like difficult part of your journeys?
Mm, how does the art? I think, it, like I said just earlier, it helps me make me a better person. I just feel more more normal after doing art. I think I'm a better mom. Uh, I sleep better. So yeah.
Oh, that sleep is important. You know, I know that little bit of hours of sleep, you
Me
wake
too,
up
yeah.
and it's like, I'm about to be the meanest, most irritated person towards the whole world.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure like for you, like if you have an idea of like, oh my God, I need to approach that person will be good to interview. And for some reason you don't approach the person because of some, I don't know, whatever reason it is, it will be bugging you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think making art, doing art, just makes me a better person because I think that's my I because I like doing it. You know, I have to do it. So if I don't do it, yeah, it'd just be horrible.
See, and that to me, that's like super duper important. I feel as though a lot of people get caught up in the world of, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, that's what I want. How do I do that as quick as possible? When I believe that people don't really even understand what they truly want for themselves. Not everybody want $1 million, and not everybody, you know, wants a big mega mansion. It's nice to have, but it was like, would that truly bring you, you know, fulfillment or life instead of, you know, necessarily happiness? Because, you know, those feelings come and go all the time. But, you
Yeah.
know, taking those emotions and putting that towards something that you enjoy doing and that brings you that life, and like, oh, I can't wait to do the next thing, or I can't wait to show somebody what I just created, is to me is like, that's like a essential reason to live, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think once you find a purpose, it completes you. And I think if it does, it will find it will find its way on serving. If it had served you, it will find its way in serving other people. And yeah.
That was well put. That was well put. So what would you say is your biggest aspirations for art?
So I think my biggest aspiration is to do a series of artworks that I have in mind, which probably need longer time and like a consistent and building up, create an increase in awareness in several issues close to my heart. And travel in American cities, doing it, meeting, different people and sharing and hearing what they have to say. Yeah, I think that's my biggest aspiration. And I mean, in the meantime, not having my family happy and healthy. Yeah, especially pandemic, right?
Oh no, 100%.
Mhm.
You are about to have a solo art exhibit coming up. How can the
Yeah.
people get and more information about that?
Okay. So the art exhibition itself will be held at Workhouse in Lorton, Virginia. The opening night is November 13 on a Saturday, and it ends January 30th next year. So you can go to my website, or the Workhouse website. I don't think it's only September, so it's not out there yet. But yeah, we're preparing to put it up. But it's November 13 to January 30th in the Workhouse.
All
Yeah.
right.
So
So Is this your first art exhibit like that you're doing in this kind of light?
I think it's the first one in Virginia. In Virginia, yeah. I've done one in Lawrence, Kansas. I've done several in Japan and in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur. But it's the first time in Virginia, so I'm excited. And this is
Wow.
especially like being like super quiet over the COVID period. So I'm excited about it.
That's
Yeah.
very exciting. That's even exciting. I know Japan was like awesome when you was like, displaying your stuff out there. That's kind of cool. How was that experience?
Yeah, so yeah, I think I'm more cultural. I don't know whether I'm more cultural shock, but we were in Okinawa, Japan, which is an island off the mainland of Japan. So it's a very beautiful, beautiful country, and people are just very nice and polite.
Oh man,
Um,
I know you got crazy amount of inspiration being out there.
yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I think I started like the colors over there, like all the crazy colors. Yeah, it definitely started. Yeah, that and falling in love. Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
where you met your husband now in Japan.
No, we met each other in Kuala Lumpur. But yeah, I would say our honeymoon period is in our Japan. But the island itself is beautiful, and I hope you get a chance to go there. You would totally understand why
Oh,
it's.
definitely. Like Japan is up there, like on my list. Like I'm definitely I got a couple of things to cross off my bucket list,
Mhm,
and Japan is being one of them. I just like experiencing, different cultures, especially for the first time, and taking it all in. It's like it's real awe to see that people have a certain way of life that's different from where you came from, but they're not different at all from you
mhm.
individually, which is like to me is like the most craziest thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, when you're learning some about something and appreciating, it brings out, the crazy enthusiasm. It like if you think you're alive, you get more alive. I think that's the amazing thing about traveling. And there was one time I remember going to an island. It was so beautiful, and I was trying to take photos. And I look at my camera and I look at the real thing. I was like, this is a waste of time. It's not going to capture it. It was crazy.
See that
Yeah.
I oftentimes get caught up in like what you just said, where I don't take pictures because I'm so caught up in just
Mm-hmm.
like around me. And sometimes when I do take pictures, it's just like ain't really doing any justice to what my actual eyes was seeing. And I don't know. I tend to, as time goes on, I'm tend to pull my phone out less and less. But it's a bad thing because I'm like, all right, all of these memories are just in my head. I can't even, physically see them. So I need to get better with taking pictures when I travel and everything.
Yeah, but when you're doing that, you're absolutely like absorbing it, because you're not busy capturing it. It's absorbing. It just becomes you, and maybe you will find a different way of expressing what you've seen, and how it make you feel. And maybe for you, it's through words and sharing it through stories with other people. Yeah, I do find myself sometimes like this is so amazing, or like this music is like so cool, like I'm not videoing, I'm like I need to be just like just I went to recently to an Alanis Morissette concert, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm enjoying this, I'm not gonna video this, like, you know yeah, so yeah.
But that's like to me, doing things like that and embodying whatever it is that you're experiencing as like one of the best feelings as a human being to do is just like to immerse yourself in like what you just said, the music that you're listening to or the activity that you're doing. Those are like the key ingredients to even tap into the flow state,
Yeah, yeah.
and get that creativity going.
Yeah, I think definitely, I think different activities will, once you're deep enough in it, you will be in a flow. Just like when, if I'm doing my workout, like if I have a bunch of stuff like I'm going through, once I'm doing it, like I don't actually socialize in the gym because of that, because I'm in the flow, and I like, to finish off and just like hitting it, you know. to work out. Yeah.
All of these things is like crazy universal, which that's like I try to, especially on this podcast, to get people to understand is just that whatever it is that you're doing, no matter what walk it is in your life, you can apply these same things. And it don't even have to be necessarily on a real serious magnitude, even though I can't take it there sometimes with this podcast because how serious and focused that I can be. But at the same time, is variations of that that you can just simply practice and being mindful about certain activities that you're doing, and it really do help create a positive mindset towards being creative and doing the things that you truly want to do instead of like ignoring it. It makes it harder to be able to tap in and do the things that you want to do. It's best that you lean in and just do whatever it is that your mind is trying to get you to do, like that's trying to force you to do.
Yeah, like I think there's so many things we can do instead of like escaping, like doing the activities that we are passionate about, and then things will lead from there. Yeah.
Not honest truth. So we reached the end of the podcast episode. So how can the people reach out to you and see your artwork?
Oh, okay. So I have a website you can go to. It's shahidaosman.com, or my Instagram, it's spelled differently. It's XIAHIDA, or my Facebook page, Shahida Osman Arts. But yeah, if you guys have a calendar, mark an X for November 13, and I'm on a lookout for a musician to perform for the opening because I love music for the opening. And I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to see you too.
All right. So I will be putting everything that you just said in the description below. So please, people, go check out her artwork. Go check out her website. She even has some of her artwork on Instagram. And also will be, what was that? I'm sorry.
On Etsy. So I just started. So you can actually buy the prints. There is one painting that I did, and I put it on a sports bra. So if you're into sportswear, right now I'm offering only just one of the design, but it's on my Etsy page, and it's under Shahida Osman.
Yeah. All right, that's perfect. I'm gonna be putting all of that for you in the description for everybody that's watching and everybody that's listening. And Shahida, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you for serving your purpose. Everybody do so as well. And love you all for listening. Love you all for tuning in. And you guys have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.